if I was with Duck, I'd have something to say to Duck. I wish I could get with Duck. Damn! There you are, boy. Now, see, I've been watching. You talking about that you can't make no deal, and if you can't make no deal, you're going back over there to bomb them children, and Iran done won the war. You got to accept that, Duck. Iran has won the war. If you go back over there and bomb, you ain't gonna change nobody's mind. If you go back over there and bomb, you're not gonna open up the Strait of Hormuz. So you need to accept that you done lost that war. So these gas prices go down. Instead of going over there acting like the barbarian savage that you've been acting like. But I'm tired of talking to you. I don't want to talk to you. I want to talk to my people. Let me do this right here. Welcome. For those who don't know. Sometimes it go like that. But I said, welcome! For those who don't know, this is Elder Amoja Ajabu, your host, normally for Ajabu Speaks. And normally, this class operates in a dual purpose because it is normally the political education class for the Black Panther movement. But I'm not talking to you in that capacity. I'm talking to you as the elder. And if you understand the elder, you understand that the elder don't define himself by where he was born. The elder was born in the United States of America. The elder does not define himself like that. The American United States of America, the elder does not see himself as an American. Now, he's a citizen, and he exercises all the rights that citizens have, because so many of our ancestors paid a hell of a price for us to get that on paper, so I exercise all of that. All of that. But when you're talking about being an American, a person that came from Europe, stole land from people, then went to kill them off, and then when they worked them to death, said we still need some workers, came over here and stole us, brought us to America and worked us halfway to death, but we survived. That's an American. I ain't that. Don't want to be that. But I will exercise my right as a citizen. So you got to understand that the elder is unbossed, and unafraid of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the butt naked truth. The elder wants to be liked. He do. And he wants to be popular. You know, I like a little attention. But more important than that, the elder wants to be free. When it comes time for the elder to lay down for the last time, the elder wants to lay down a free man. I've been sharing with you how the brothers over in Burkina Faso are elevating the traditional religion to be on the same status, if not above, the Christianity and the Islam. And Islam run it a little more rampant over there than the Christianity. But those religions that are they call the major religions, they say that they're going to elevate the traditional religion to that level. And this past, what is this, the 21st, 6 days ago, May 15, 2026, they had what they called a day of customs and traditions. And it dealt with African cultural sovereignty. And I want to talk about that. The brothers from the embassy sent me a young man who is talking about that day and giving people an understanding of that day and talking about the significance of that day. And we're going to play the video, but he's speaking in French, and so I'm going to do the best that I can with the interpretation that I got. And if it's incorrect, I got it from AI.
Chers amis, bonjour.
But I think
Je
it's
suis
good
Koradio Missa Doumbia,
because the brother
le
is saying
boutique du
some
mouvement
great
culturel
things.
Maya Blum basé à
And
Bamako,
this is
au
what
Mali.
he's saying. He's saying, good evening,
Demain,
dear friends,
c'est le 15 mai
beloved
2026.
sons and daughters of Africa.
Le 15 mai a été officiellement institué
Am
comme
Corrido
journée des coutumes
Missa
et traditions
Doumbia,
par le gouvernement de Burkina
director of
Faso
the
en avril
Bayou,
2024,
Maya Blue,
devenant
Maya
ainsi
Blue,
un jour férié,
culture
chômé
movement
et payé
based
sur
in
toute l'étendue du
Bamako,
territoire.
Mali.
La première
May
célébration
15,
officielle
2026,
a eu lieu le 15 mai
It marked the
2024.
third official celebration
Donc nous sommes
of the
à la
day of
troisième
customs
célébration
and traditions
cette année
in Burkina
2026.
Faso. This historic
Cette
day
reconnaissance
was
officielle
officially established
représente
in April
une victoire
2024 by the
majeure
government of Burkina
dans notre
Faso
combat
as a
pour la
national
renaissance
public
africaine,
holiday, a day recognized across
pour
the entire nation.
l'équité religieuse,
And
culturelle
May
et
15,
culturelle,
we witnessed
car
something greater
elle place
than
les
a
pratiques
holiday.
spirituelles
We
endogènes
witnessed a people
au même niveau
reclaiming
que les
memory,
religions étrangères
reclaiming
qui
identity,
bénéficient déjà de plusieurs
reclaiming
jours fériés
spiritual
officiels.
sovereignty.
Mais jusque-là,
Now I need
aucun
that
jour
first
pour
bit.
nous-mêmes. Alors,
And what you're looking at is a powerful sunrise over Burkina Faso with the traditional elders, youth, and women wearing Faso Dafani, which I got on, standing together in unity. For generations, foreign religions received recognition, Islam, Christianity, protection, and official celebrations across Africa. Those religions were brought to Africa. They didn't originate there. While the ancestral spiritual systems of African people were ignored, marginalized, or condemned. But now, the traditions of our ancestors stand openly acknowledged. We ain't trying to hide it. And even though the brothers basically are Islamic, they're not trying to hide their traditional religion. They're going back to embrace it. And for that, we extend gratitude to President Captain Ibrahim Traoré and the government of Burkina Faso. We also salute Minister Barcelona Bazier for his courage in defending African cultural identity and ancestral heritage. Few officials openly stand for African traditions with such conviction. Brother Barcelona, Africa thanks you. Although the official title is the Day of Customs and Traditions, we, the guardians of ancestral ways, also call this the Day of Authentic Africans. Because this day is not merely a symbol, it is sacred, it is spiritual, it is ancestral, it is a living bridge between the past, the present, and the future. Across Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger, and throughout Africa, ceremonies are held in sacred groves, family sanctuaries, community shrines, and ancestral gathering places. Libations are poured, offerings are made, prayers rise for peace, protection, and sovereignty. Traditional garments such as the Faso Tefani and the Wanjafani are worn with pride. And ancestral wisdom is passed from the elder to the youth. Let me use that second image. And what you're looking at is the traditional African spiritual ceremony in a sacred grove with elders pouring libations, drums playing, and youth listening attentively. This spiritual continuity forms part of a unified African heritage, a heritage that colonial systems attempted to erase, but a heritage that survived. And today, that heritage rises again. In the current context of Burkina Faso, a nation boldly asserting sovereignty, this day carries even deeper meaning. It represents a rejection of external domination, a return to African-centered values, and a movement toward mental decolonization, taking them chains off our brains. Because Africa possesses its own spiritual, cultural, and philosophical systems fully capable of guiding us through this modern society. And everybody else, we do not need to abandon ourselves in order to advance. We do not need to erase our traditions in order to modernize. Instead, listen, we must unite tradition and technology, ancestral wisdom, and modern innovation. This is what we call it now, and this is him speaking, this is a new term. Modernity. Modernity. It's hard for me to say. But what it is tradition and modern put together. And let me keep on being true to the translation. Using modern technology to preserve oral history, archive ancestral teachings, create digital libraries, and spread African knowledge across the world, merging our tradition into the modern era. Now, image 3, what you're looking at is African youth using cameras, laptops, microphones, and digital archives while documenting elders sharing oral traditions, bringing the past to the present so that we can use it to go into the future. That's me talking. Let me get back to what he said. I especially salute the conscious youth of Burkina Faso, the youth of Mali, the youth
Chers
of
amis,
Niger,
bonjour.
and the
Je suis
youth
Koradio Missa Doumbia,
of all
le
Africa,
Blountigi du mouvement culturel
Young
Maya
people
Blou
speak
basé à Bamako au Mali.
to reconnect
Demain,
pre-colonial
c'est le 15 mai 2026.
traditional philosophy
Le 15 mai a été
and
officiellement
African
institué
consciousness
comme journée des coutumes et traditions par le gouvernement du Burkina Faso en avril
My young brothers and
2024,
sisters,
devenant
do
ainsi
not
un jour
allow
férié,
this day
chômé
to
et
become
payé
only
sur toute l'étendue du
celebration
territoire.
and entertainment.
La première célébration officielle a eu lieu le 15 mai 2024. Donc nous sommes à la troisième célébration cette année 2026. Cette reconnaissance officielle représente une victoire majeure dans notre combat pour la renaissance africaine, pour l'équité religieuse, culturelle et cultuelle, car elle place les pratiques spirituelles endogènes au même niveau que les religions étrangères qui bénéficient déjà de plusieurs jours fériés officiels. Mais jusque-là, aucun jour pour nous-mêmes. Alors, nous remercions grandement le président Captain Ibrahim Traoré et tout son gouvernement d'avoir institué cette journée le 15 mai. Et nous saluons particulièrement le ministre Bassolma Bazié pour son courage affiché dans la lutte pour la renaissance et la reconnaissance de notre héritage ancestral. Monsieur Bazié,
African history, culture, and philosophy together. Dear people of Africa, May 15th is far more than a commemorative holiday. It is an act of cultural resistance. It is a declaration of cultural sovereignty.
Chers amis, bonjour. Je suis Koradio Missa Doumbia, le Bluntigi du mouvement culturel Maya Blue basé à Bamako, au Mali. Demain,
everything necessary intellectually, spiritually, culturally, and morally. Hear that? Morally. We've got to be upright people to rise again, to reunify, to rebuild, and to shine once more as we did during the age of our great empires. As the great scholar Cheikh Anta Diop declared, Africa will have its renaissance because every people who abandon their traditions for foreign systems lose part of themselves. But a conscious people, a rooted people, a spiritually grounded people can never truly be conquered. Now look at image 5. What you're looking at is a majestic Pan-African visual featuring ancient African empires, sacred symbols, modern African youth, and the continent rising in the golden light. Ain't that pretty? May this day of authentic Africans strengthen our mission as guardians of ancestral traditions. May African consciousness continue to grow within the sacred groves and within the hearts of our people. May the ancestors guide us in preserving and transmitting our millennial spiritual heritage. May our God, may our ancestors, may our divinities and spirits hear our prayers, protect Africa, and bless you abundantly. Okekete. Okekete. I don't know what that means, but that's what he said. This has been a message of courage, awakening, and
chers amis, bonjour. Je suis Koradio Missa Doumbia, le Blountigui du mouvement culturel Maya Bloun basé à Bamako au Mali. Demain, c'est le 15 mai 2026. Le 15 mai a été officiellement institué comme une journée des coutumes et traditions par le gouvernement de
Burkina Faso. But I want to go a little deeper. Because what is he talking about? What is our traditional religion? And I've done some research, and I want to share with you. And I'm going to call it Wende, the sacred balance in this feminine spirit of the earth. Good evening, beloved. Tonight, we gather to explore one of the deepest spiritual understandings within the ancestral traditions, the tradition of the Masi people of Burkina Faso and African civilizations across the continent. Tonight, we speak about Wende. Who is Wende? What is Wende? And why is Wende understood as existing beyond ordinary human gender? These are not simple religious questions. They're questions about existence itself. Questions about creation. Questions about balance. Questions about the African understanding of the universe long before the white folks got there. I need image, what would that be, 6? And what you're looking at is a majestic, cosmic African inspired scene showing stars, galaxies, sacred symbols, and the radiant spiritual light above the African continent. This symbolizes Wende as the supreme creative force beyond human limitation. In many modern systems, people attempt to define the creator strictly as male or as female. But African ancestral traditions often approach spirituality differently, more deeply, more holistically, more encompassing, more cosmically from the beginning. Where did it all start? Where did it start? Within Masi spiritual understanding, Wende is recognized as the supreme creative force, the source of life, the source of order, the source of existence itself. And because Wende is the source of all things, Wende cannot be confined to ordinary human categories. Human beings are born into gender. Human beings exist without physical limitations or within physical limitations. Human beings experience division. But Wende exists before division, before humanity, before language, before categories themselves. All of those categories are division. Wende existed before that. And this is why many traditional understandings describe Wende as transcending ordinary human gender. He's up above that. Or the energy is up above that. Now, this does not mean gender is unimportant. Quite the opposite. African ancestral systems viewed masculine and feminine principles as sacred and necessary forces within creation. Not enemies, not opposites at war, but complementary energies existing in balance. The man and woman is supposed to unify. Man and woman is supposed to complement one another. The masculine principle, the feminine principle, the visible world, the invisible world, and the physical and the spiritual. All of that comes together when you're talking about man and woman. And when they in the earth. Look at the second image, or that would be 7. You're looking at a balanced African symbolic artwork showing masculine and feminine energies in harmony, not at each other, existing to the good, to the good of each other. They're like the sun and the moon, the sky and the earth. And the elder brother and the elder woman standing together beneath that sacred tree. They done lived life together. They done complimented each other all of their lives. They ain't trying to divide. They're trying to reside with one another. In Marsi traditions, Wende is sometimes described using masculine language because of associations with authority, divine order, protection, and the heavens. But spiritually, Wende is understood as greater than the human concept of man or woman. Wende is totality. It's all of it. Wende is cosmic unity. It's all out there in space. Wende is sacred balance. You're not trying to conquer the universe. You're trying to live within it. You're trying to live with it. And this understanding is extremely important because African spirituality traditionally emphasizes harmony rather than rigid separation. We ain't trying to fight each other. We're trying to come together. But let us turn to another sacred dimension of African spirituality, the earth. Across many African traditions, the earth is deeply associated with feminine spiritual energy. Why? Because the earth gives life. The earth nourishes. The earth receives seeds and brings forth abundance. That's feminine. The earth feeds humanity. That's a woman. The earth is the breast of humanity. The earth protects communities. The earth carries memory. It don't forget. And because of this, and you know them women don't forget, and because of this, many African civilizations view the earth as spiritually feminine in nature. Not weak, not secondary, but powerful, sacred, protective, life-giving. Look at that girl. Now let me show you image 3. Actually, that would be what, 8. And it's a powerful, oh no, that's them sitting around. A powerful African mother figure, okay, emerging symbolically from the earth. No, that's not it. Surrounded by rivers, forests, crops, children, and wildlife, representing the feminine spirit of nourishment and life. The earth was understood as motherly, not because of inferiority, but because of creative power. Within many West African traditions, including among the Masi and neighboring peoples, the earth represents fertility, continuity, healing, motherhood, and ancestral connection. This is why sacred groves are protected, why rivers are honored, why forests are respected, why libations are poured onto the earth, because nature is not viewed as separate from spirituality. Nature is spirituality. The earth is not merely land to exploit. The earth is sacred inheritance. The earth is living memory. And therefore, many traditional ceremonies involve direct connection to the ground itself, touching the soil, pouring water, offering prayers, calling upon the ancestors tied to the land. Ashe, Ashe all, because the earth is seen as spiritually alive. Give me visual 9. Okay, that's it. Here you're seeing the traditional African spiritual ceremony in a sacred grove with elders pouring libations onto the soil, and while the youth observe respectfully around drums and sacred trees. Now when we bring these concepts together, now this is deep right here, we begin to understand something profound about African cosmology. Wende represents the supreme source beyond limitation, infinite. The earth represents the sacred feminine principle expressing life, nourishment, continuity within creation. You go into the earth. One transcends categories. That's Wende, the creator. The other, the earth, expresses sacred fertility will bear within the physical world. Together, they reflect balance. Man and woman together reflects harmony, interdependence, creation itself. This worldview differs greatly from systems from the white folk system that separate humanity from nature. They're trying to subdue the earth, not live with it. And they're trying to conquer the nature. They want to dominate over creation. That's the reason why they over there fighting down in Iran and doing the same thing over there in Ukraine. They trying to conquer land. That's what the white folks are doing. That ain't the way we done it. We didn't try to conquer the land. We wanted to live with it. African ancestral spirituality traditionally teaches relationship, not domination. How can we get along? Relationship with the ancestors. Relationship with the spirit. Relationship with each other. And our relationship with nature. What is the natural order of things? and relationship with that which we can't see. We know that the universe is bigger than the earth. This is why African spirituality cannot simply be reduced to rituals or ceremonies. There's a wisdom there. And that wisdom is a philosophy of balance. A philosophy of responsibility. A philosophy of interconnectedness. And fortunately and unfortunately, many ancestral traditions, unfortunately, were misrepresented or demonized when them white folks came out here on their conquering escapades. But despite centuries of suppression, these traditions have survived. And the brothers in Burkina Faso have chosen May 15th to elevate traditional religions, because those traditional religions are rooted in observation of life itself, the cycles of nature, the movement of seasons, birth, death, renewal, continuity. The cosmology. How did it start? How is it? How is it going to be? The full cycle of life. Now, when you look at image 5, or actually 10, you see a radiant Pan-African Renaissance featuring African youth, elders, and the sacred groves, advanced technology, ancient empires, and the African continent glowing with spiritual light. And now, across Africa and throughout the diaspora, many young people are reconnected with ancestral knowledge. Not necessarily to reject this modern stuff, but to restore balance, to reclaim identity, to recover historical memory. How did it all start with me? How do I fit? And what it be? And how should I be developing so I fit in what it's going to be? To understand that African civilizations possess profound spiritual systems long before white folks came up in there and disrupting stuff. This does not require hatred. This ain't about hatred toward anybody, nor conflict, nor division. It requires understanding. This is about us reclaiming ourselves. It's about us understanding, respecting, and building our cultural confidence. Because a people disconnected from their spiritual and cultural foundations become vulnerable to confusion and dependency. And that's what's happening to us now. That's the reason why we're jumping on each other now, because we're confused and we're dependent on a philosophy that's not ours. So it's got us trying to be somebody that we ain't. We've got to become a people grounded in ancestral memory so that we stand with dignity. So tonight, as we reflect upon Wednesday, let us remember the Creator is greater than human limitation. The earth is sacred. Balance is necessary. Man must have woman and woman must have man. And with nature, it's alive, so we live with it. We don't live on it, we live with it. And humanity must live in harmony with creation rather than trying to dominate over it, trying to conquer it. May we continue learning from the wisdom of our ancestors. May we preserve sacred knowledge for future generations. And may Africa continue its spiritual, cultural, and intellectual renaissance. Thank you, the Alliance of Sahel States, under the leadership of Captain Ibrahim Traoré. Thank you for giving us and may peace, wisdom, and sacred balance guide us all. You've been listening to Elder Amoja Ajabu. Unbossed and unafraid of the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the butt-naked truth. The elder just wants to be free. And he knows to be free, we've got to reclaim who we are, who we were, who we supposed to be. And you know, in the process of trying to share that with you, I ain't got but one question for you. You ready? Really? Let's make it happen.